is good to be back. This is Kristen, and I am actually recording. I'm multitasking today, if that's a real thing as a psych major. But I am multitasking. I am recording for Kristen Simple Life podcast. So welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Kristen Simple Life podcast. But I'm also recording for the YouTube channel, which obviously, if you're watching this, you can see me, okay? So the YouTube channel, and this is normally my quick segments with Kristen, but I'm just gonna kind of call it Kristen Simple Life segments, okay? So I am glad to be back. It is the end of the year, and the end of 2024. We're approaching the end of the year. It's December as I'm recording this. This is December the 6th. And this is a time of year where I do deep dive reflection. And so I want to talk about some of the things that I have been reflecting on this year. And I have an announcement. I have an exciting announcement at the end of this as well. And so I'm going to kind of walk you along my journey. Kind of been missing in action for a while, and there is reason for that. So at the early part of this year, May of this year, so you know I'm an educator, my school that I loved, that I absolutely loved, shut down. We shut down after 51 years, and the news was devastating. I was looking for something else at the time, not because I didn't love my school, but because I wanted to earn more money. But I wasn't really in a rush because, you know, I loved where I was. And so we closed down. We actually changed our name, and we changed our name in January of this year. And then we had a PLC. If you don't know what a PLC is, it is a professional learning community. And they come in and they just kind of help you with whatever you need help with. And for us, our numbers were down of enrollment. So they were coming in to kind of help us figure out what we could do to get our numbers back up. Well, they came in, I want to say in February. I think it was March. I think it was March or the beginning of April when we all got called in the office and we were told that we were shutting down, that we were closing. And that was devastating news, not only because it was such a great school, but it was devastating news for the simple fact that we changed our name, right? So that was like a step in the right direction to kind of give us a fresh start. And we had a PLC come in, where studies show that if a PLC comes into your school to try to help you, it typically takes 3 to 5 years for all of the things that you've gotten from the PLC to like really take full effect. And I think we just hired them too late. And so we shut down, and it was just really devastating for us. And so it didn't matter at that time, right, as far as looking, because now I really had to look. And since May, it has really been hard to find any school anywhere close to like where I was. And in the educational system, working with elementary, I have just, well, you know, grade school period, I have just really been disappointed with what I have seen. Of course, the pay is not good for teachers, but pay has actually gotten a little bit better. So teachers can make a somewhat decent salary. However, the lack of support from administration, the biases on the podcast, you can go back to I don't even remember the name of the podcast. I think it may have been Strong Black Woman, um, but I don't. Maybe it wasn't. I can't even remember which one it was. But just maybe 2 podcasts ago, I was talking about kind of the I think it's called interracial bias. But I was talking about the problems that you come into when you're light skinned, when you're dark skinned, when you're educated, when you have a strong educational background, just kind of how you're treated. And so I have been doing sub work for a while, and I've even noticed as a sub, when you're called into some of these schools, administration would kind of look down on you because they just kind of see you as a sub. So a lot of them are happy, a lot of them are excited to have you come in and help. But I've been in rooms where nobody even spoke to me. Like, I'm here to help you out, and you can't even speak to me. You can't even acknowledge me. And I've been to places where it's so dysfunctional, to where I wanted to walk out. I've been places where, I didn't get a lunch break because not one was provided for me because the students are eating in their classrooms. And so they don't even have a place to have lunch. And so I've gone to places where teachers literally walk out of the classroom in the middle of the day because there's no support. And but there is a teacher shortage. But it used to be this thing where teachers could get hired whether you went to school for education or you went for business administration, psychology, sociology. It didn't matter. If you wanted to be a teacher, you could. And then they would give you a certain amount of time to get, a certification for teaching. Well, I guess now, after COVID, they've shut that down. And so my degree is not in education now. I'm studying for my doctorate. I will get an EDS. That's in education, and then I would get an EDD. But my bachelor's and my master's is in psychology. And but it's with a teaching specialization, but it's in psychology. And so they don't really want me in a classroom as a teacher because they want me to go back to school for a bachelor's or a master's in education, in which I'm not gonna do that. But it used to be they would give you time to get your provisionary and all those things, but they're not doing that now. At least in my experience in my state, I'm in Georgia, that has not been the case. But the disheartening part about this is that I'm going into these classrooms and, the students are asking me, are you going to be our new teacher? Are you going to be our new teacher? And it's because they've had not one teacher walk out on them, but multiple teachers walk out on them. And some of these schools, the grades are so low that it's mind-blowing. And it's disheartening because there is a teacher shortage, but some schools would rather have a sub come in every day, a different sub every day, than to hire someone that has teaching experience, that is a teacher, just don't have an education degree. And it's an epidemic because you see the problems in the classroom and you want to help. Like, you have a desire to teach, you have a passion for students and children, but no one wants to let you in. And so I've kind of been on this journey. I've been seeing all of these issues in schools. I've run into the problems where, somebody don't like me because of my background or because of how I'm dressed or whatever the case. And then now going from school to schools where I'm seeing so many issues, and I just had to just kind of pull back and say, Lord, what is this? Why am I going through this? Why am I seeing this? Why did you put me in such an amazing place to bring me here? And so I really have had to do a lot of crying and seeking and praying and experiencing. And that's what I've been doing. And so, as I have been going through this process, I have just kind of been like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't think that I want to do this teaching in grade school anymore. I don't want to do it. Um, I do want some type of capacity with students. I still love teaching. I still love um, helping children and students be the best that they can be. But the typical classroom environment, I just don't know. Now, I would never say never, because if I was offered a position that was very similar to where I left, then of course I would jump on it, right? But right now, I am seeing nothing but problems and politics and politics and politics. And so I've not been happy with that. And so as I have been reflecting, open up my little notebook here. As I have been reflecting, I've been thinking about that, and I've been asking God to show me, like, what else is it that that you want me to do? What other things can I do that's still within my field and my degree program that is going to be fulfilling to my life? And so I've been reflecting on that, and me making a decision not to want to do this in this capacity anymore. For one, I was concerned about my own mental health and my own peace. And I've had to redefine my boundaries and what my boundaries are going to be for me. And not only in my career, but just in my life general. I've had this is a time where I say, hey, you need to evaluate your friends. Okay, which ones you need to cut off? Which ones do you need to pull back from? Which ones do you need to just kind of step back and say, hey, this person, they kind of, they with me one day when they with this person, or they doing this with that person, they not with me during that period of time. And you have to just step back and figure out what you want to do with that information. And so I also do that towards the end of the year. Now, that doesn't mean you call up your friend and say, hey, yeah, boo, I don't like how you've been doing me. I'm snipping you off, cut. No, you don't have to do all of that. You don't have to let them know. But it's a mental note for yourself. If you have people in your life that just kind of come and go when they please, then you make a mental note of that. That's what she do? Okay. I know how to take that now. I can either make a decision that I will still stay committed to the friendship, but I'm going to accept the fact that this is just who she is, or that ain't my cup of tea right now. I'm gonna cut this friendship off. And so you have to make those decisions. So I sit down and I think about those things at the end of the year, and I also do that. Something else that I've been reflecting on is the fact that taking on other people's drama is not something I want to do either. And I also don't want to give people my drama, right? Because we all have some kind of drama sometimes, right? That kind of arises periodically through our lives, some of us more than others. But there have been things happening. I'm like, you know what? I see a text message come through on my phone from somebody. Yeah, I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm not going to get caught up in that. I don't want to know that story today. I don't want to be, so you have to do things to protect your mental peace, and kind of put those boundaries around that. And I always have to kind of reevaluate my boundaries. There's a few podcasts that I listen to. One of them is from Rachel Rogers, and she says, boo, you need boundaries. And I listen to that podcast every year. I think she may have released it in like 2021, 2020, something like that. But I listen to it every year about the beginning of the year or toward the end of the year, because I have to kind of remind myself of, what boundaries do I want to put in place for myself. Joyce Meyer also has a really good podcast on boundaries. I believe it's called Establishing Borders and Boundaries, or Establishing Boundaries. But she talks about how if we look all around us, we see boundaries. Like in my room right now where I am recording, there are boundaries. There is like a wood panel going all the way around the bottom of the floor. At the top is something going all the way around the room. It's a boundary. The boundaries are important. They're put in place for a reason. She also mentions that, if you're on the beach, right? Or if you're standing on a balcony or something and you have the water from the ocean, that water is fine. It's safe as long as it's in its space, right? As long as it's in its boundary. But the moment it comes outside of its boundaries, whoa, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem, because that means that now that water is going to cause some type of problem for me, right? It's going to be a dangerous situation for me because it came out of its boundary. And so I like to go back and listen to that as well, because it just, again, helps me kind of reestablish what those boundaries are. Even things sometimes within the family, in your family, right? Our family can like pull and push on us and press us down. And sometimes you have to just set that boundary within your family. Okay, listen, I'm not going to do this. This is stressing me out. This is worrying me out. I'm not going to do that. And so I'm having to kind of reestablish that in my life as well. Something else that happened for me is kind of reminding myself to be thankful, because I have kind of been wallowing in self-pity a little bit. I've kind of been thinking about, this has happened to me, that's happened to me, woe is me. And on Thanksgiving, I got up that morning and I prayed, and I really spent time focusing on nothing but being thankful and showing my gratitude for the things that I have, for my family, for having a roof over my head. And I had to really sit down and focus, because I've been focused on some of the disappointments for so long that it was kind of blocking me from really seeing what God has done for me. And so I took the time to really go line upon line, precept upon precept of all of the things that I was grateful for. But I was taking a shower Thanksgiving Eve, and the Lord showed me something about myself that wasn't right. And it was something that because sometimes you have to say, Lord, what is it? Why is such and such happening in my life? What is it? And so he showed me something that I was not doing that was right. And it was a mentality issue. It was a mentality that I had that I didn't even know, y'all, that I had. I'm not going to share what it was, but just know that God was showing me a certain type of mentality that I have had this year that was not pleasing to him. And I didn't even know. I didn't even realize that I had this mentality. It's amazing because we don't know what we don't know. And that's why we have to ask the Lord to show us things about ourselves, because he knows us better than we know ourselves. And so I wept. On Thanksgiving, I wept. I really thought and sat in that. And I was like, I don't want to hurt you, Lord. I don't want you to be disappointed in me. No, we're not perfect. But it's just sometimes the Lord shows us something about ourselves that we are not aware of. It can be a little bit, kind of, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't even know I was doing that. And so as soon as I feel like I acknowledged it and I apologized to the Lord, I cried, I wept. You don't have to do all of those things, or you don't have to cry and weep and all of this. This is just me. But this is how I respond deeply to things. And so, I did that, and it seemed like the next day some things started to happen in my life that lifted my spirit. And so that announcement that I have for you, that announcement, with everything that I have gone through this year, I end the year teaching psychology courses. Well, I'm not teaching it yet. It's going to be in the new year. But I got a position as a psychology instructor on a college campus. Yay! So I am really, really, really excited. It's been a long journey. It was a blessing how I got the position, and but it happened right after. Now, some other things had happened regarding this before, but the process was moving super slow. This has like been months and months and months in the making. But as soon as I repented for what the Lord showed me that I was operating in, that I wasn't aware that I was operating in, that position opened up just like that. And so I will be teaching psych courses. That's something I've always wanted to do, is teach on a college level. And I actually get to start doing that. So professor is on her way, right? But I tell you that this whole journey, this education journey, I was just like, I'm done with this. This is just not working out. And so I don't expect that things will be perfect, but I am looking forward to moving on to the next season, because sometimes we have to recognize that maybe this season is over. Maybe the season of being in this career path is over, or this job, or dealing with this person. Maybe that season has come to an end. And I definitely, I won't say that teaching elementary is completely an end and a disaster, because it's not. But for right now, it's just not what I want to do anymore. Again, if I was given if I was given a situation to where it was anything like my old school, then absolutely. But the way that this season is right now in my life, I don't foresee myself going back. I will always find a way to work with students in some way. Right now, I'm looking into also maybe going into behavioral health and helping students with autism from that perspective. So maybe I'll go in the classroom and sit with the student and help them there. But as far as being an elementary teacher, I don't know that I want to do that anymore. And so, again, never saying never, but one door closes, another one opens, and I'm ready to walk into this new phase of my life. So that's the big announcement. Long journey getting here, but I think reflection is so important, and being really intentional is so important in what you want to do. And that's what I try to do, and I'm still learning. And you know, it's only up from here. It's just being willing to grow and being willing to learn, and know that you don't know everything, no matter how many degrees you have, which to a degree, no pun intended, is kind of ridiculous. But you should always be teachable. You should always be looking to learn, because nobody wants to be around somebody that knows it all, right? So I hope you enjoyed this podcast and the YouTube channel video. And I will be with you next time. Bye.